In the quiet town of Sheffield, a horrifying incident shattered the peace, the brutal assault of 15-year-old Alfie Lewis. On a seemingly ordinary day in February, the tranquility of this close-knit community was brutally disrupted. The unthinkable had happened. Alfie Lewis, just 15 years old, was discovered grievously injured near his home. The severity of his injuries left even seasoned medical personnel taken aback. Despite their relentless efforts, Alfie's life could not be saved. The young boy, full of promise, had his life cut short in the most violent of ways. The news of this shocking discovery rapidly spread, sending a wave of disbelief through the neighborhood. Sheffield, generally a place where children played freely and neighbors knew each other by name, was now a town gripped by fear and confusion. The streets that once echoed with laughter and chatter were now eerily silent as the community struggled to comprehend the horrifying reality. The local authorities were swift in their response. The severity of the crime spurred them into immediate action, their determination fueled by the collective grief and outrage of the community. Forensic teams meticulously combed through the crime scene, seeking any piece of evidence that could potentially lead them to Alfie's assailant. Simultaneously, investigators began to delve into Alfie's life, hoping to uncover any leads that could shed light on this horrific incident. The shock was palpable, the confusion overwhelming. Yet, amidst this chaos, there was a shared resolve permeating the town. The community rallied together, supporting each other during this time of crisis while cooperating with the investigation. Alfie's loss was not just a personal tragedy for his family, it was a collective sorrow that reverberated through every home, every heart in Sheffield. As Alfie succumbed to his injuries, the hunt for his assailant began, setting the stage for a thorough investigation. The peaceful town of Sheffield had been thrust into a dark chapter, one that would uncover the shadows lurking within its boundaries. But it was also the beginning of a pursuit for justice, a quest to ensure that Alfie Lewis did not die in vain. As police delved into Alfie's life, the dynamics within his community, and the tensions among local youths, a suspect emerged. The peaceful facade of the Sheffield neighborhood began to crack, revealing a complex web of relationships and conflicts. In the heart of this web was Alfie, a typical 15-year-old, whose life was cut tragically short. Investigators began to piece together a picture of Alfie's world. They sifted through the minutiae of his daily life, his friendships, his routines, and his interactions. They discovered a world fraught with the trials and tribulations of adolescence, but with an undercurrent of something darker. Tension among the local youths that was more than just petty squabbles or childhood rivalries. As the puzzle started to take shape, a figure began to stand out. A fellow teenager from Alfie's social circle. A friend, a peer, a suspect. This individual's identity, hidden from public view due to their age, became the focal point of the investigation. The evidence was compelling. It wasn't just circumstantial or hearsay. There were tangible threads connecting this suspect to the tragic night. Digital footprints, forensic clues, and witness accounts all pointed in one direction. But the police were cautious, knowing that the stakes were high and the room for error was minimal. The arrest was made with a mix of relief and dread. Relief, because it seemed that Alfie's assailant was no longer at large. Dread, because it meant acknowledging a harsh reality. That the perpetrator was not an outsider, but a member of their own community, a child like Alfie. This revelation sent shockwaves through Sheffield and beyond. The suspect, barely older than Alfie, was now facing a charge as serious as it gets: murder. Arrested and charged, this youth, whose identity was shrouded in legal protection, was suddenly thrust into a spotlight that was as harsh as it was revealing. Charged and ready to face trial, the suspect was thrust into the national spotlight. The stage was set for a court case that would captivate the country, scrutinize every shred of evidence, and ultimately seek justice for Alfie. The ensuing court case was a meticulous assembly of forensic evidence, witness accounts, and digital data. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as lawyers from both sides prepared to lay out their arguments. The prosecution was armed with a compelling narrative. Their case hinged on a combination of CCTV footage, DNA traces, and digital footprints. The defense, on the other hand, had a challenging task ahead: to convince the jury that their client was merely a victim of circumstance. The prosecution's case began with a detailed, chronological account of the fateful night. They presented CCTV footage that placed the accused at the crime scene around the time of the incident. The DNA evidence found on Alfie's clothing was said to match the accused, a damning piece of evidence that was hard to refute. The digital data, including text messages and social media interactions, were used to establish a motive, suggesting a simmering discord between Alfie and the accused. But the defense was not easily swayed. They argued that the DNA evidence could be explained by the close social circle that Alfie and the accused moved in. They contested the authenticity of the digital data, suggesting that it could have been manipulated. The defense urged the jury to critically review the evidence, contending that their client was in the wrong place at the wrong time, a victim of circumstance and not a perpetrator. As the arguments unfolded, the trial became a focal point of national interest. People across the country followed the proceedings with bated breath, their attention riveted by the twists and turns of the case. It was more than just a trial. It was a stark reflection of the latent issues within the community, particularly among the youth. The case of Alfie Lewis served as a chilling reminder of the complexities lurking within seemingly peaceful communities. As the trial captivated the nation, the courtroom braced for emotional testimonies from Alfie's relatives and friends. The pain of their loss was about to echo through the hushed courtroom, adding another layer of complexity to an already convoluted case. After intense deliberations, the jury delivered a verdict: guilty of murder. The courtroom, filled with a hushed anticipation, erupted into a cacophony of emotions. The air was thick with a mixture of relief and profound sorrow. Relief that justice had been served. Sorrow for a young life tragically cut short. The verdict reverberated beyond the courtroom walls, seeping into the heart of Sheffield, a community that had been holding its collective breath. The decision was met with mixed reactions. For some, it was the closing of a painful chapter, a semblance of justice for Alfie. For others, the sorrow was too overwhelming, the void left by Alfie's absence too vast to fill. The trial had been a spectacle, yes, but it had also been a mirror reflecting the simmering issues within the community. The murder of Alfie Lewis had laid bare the underlying tensions among the local youth, the missed signs, the ignored pleas. The verdict was not just a judgment on the accused, but a wake-up call for Sheffield. In the aftermath of the trial, the community came together in a show of solidarity. Vigils were held, memorials sprouted in every corner, each candle lit, every flower laid down a testament to a life lost too soon. The mourning was collective, the grief shared. Every tear shed, every prayer whispered reinforced the need for change, for intervention. The city streets that once echoed with the laughter of youth were now a solemn reminder of a life cut short. The playgrounds, the parks, the schoolyards, every corner of Sheffield bore the silent testimony of Alfie's life and the profound impact of his untimely death. The murder of Alfie Lewis had transformed Sheffield. It had brought to light the shadows lurking within, the latent issues among its youth. It was a stark reminder of the profound impact of youth violence, a call to arms for the community. The murder of Alfie Lewis highlighted the profound impact of youth violence, calling for introspection and action towards nurturing safer environments for the younger generations.